Hello, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. So today I've been requested to talk about definition of future scenarios and major infrastructure development, implementation, and enforcement of MSP in the context of Kenya. So before I begin this presentation, I just want to create a link with what was discussed yesterday and to what team has just presented. So team has presented on what the effort at the regional level where we're trying to see or push countries within the region to create marine spatial planning. And some countries like Kenya have heeded the call and now are in the process of starting marine spatial planning. So at the regional level, we are looking into uh, part of the strategy that Tim talked about. Will try to uh, coordinate and bring strategy of the things that can really work across our region, because our region is unique and there are some things that despite marine spatial planning having been here for quite some time, but there are really some things that needs that work elsewhere, but probably are not applicable in our situation. And next slide, please. So we really don't need to reinvent the wheel much, because the IOC UNESCO has already developed have recommended some steps that should be followed that have been documented in the step-by-step approach, which has been here for quite some time. And yeah, so this is more or less a 10-step approach to marine spatial planning. And this can be broken down to like 4 phases, as you can see, the preparation phases, which Kenya is now doing. And then we go to the analysis phase, and then the really planning phase, and then evaluation and monitoring. So these are the recommended steps by IOC UNESCO, but we need to bring them down to our local scenario. That's why I think also the convention, the Nairobi Convention, is trying to develop a strategy that is applicable to our region. Then also we need to take those recommendations again and adapt them to our country, Kenya as a country, because as much as there are things that may be working in the region as well, there are things that may not be working for us as a country. So we also need to adopt these steps to country specific. So next slide, please. So linking this to my discussion today on creating on discussion about creating scenarios. So the first step of the marine spatial planning, which should be the 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 biggest driver, is first we have to identify to have a strong socioeconomic and environmental reason for why we are doing marine spatial planning. If we are able to know what really we want, what is our really driver for marine spatial planning, then this will create the need for us to do the marine spatial planning and also the creation of scenario. I will give an example of the German marine spatial planning, because I am here. And one of the biggest objectives for the drivers for the German marine spatial planning is securing and strengthening marine traffic. Why? Because German is the world #1 center of logistics, and the industry is responsible for about 50 billion euros turnover every year. So this is a lot, and the sector is the #1 contributor to the country's economy, and was one of the main focus. So as a country, before we do anything, we have to have the thing that is driving us towards marine spatial planning. So what I'm going to discuss, and in this MSP process, is coming into step number 6, when we are trying to define and analyzing future conditions. So based on what we have, then we create scenario for our marine space. So what spatial scenario provides is a vision of what projects and the use of our marine spaces, and these are going to be reflect the goals and objectives that we have, as I earlier mentioned. Next slide, please. So just looking at to Kenya and the scenario that we may have when we are creating that marine spatial planning. And this is coming from our discussion that we had yesterday. There are a lot of activities that have been planned for or are already ongoing in Kenya. And each of these sectors have its own needs. Apart from needs, there are also some consideration for what we should do for marine spatial planning. For example, for marine transport, we have new ports that are coming up in Kenya, and we have also expansion of the existing one. We heard from the PS yesterday who talk about expansion of the transshipment, the Belt and the Road Initiative, which is going the initiative by the Chinese government, which is going to see an increase in maritime activity that are coming to the port of Mombasa with an intention of making it as a regional hub. So these are things that are coming up in our marine space. So what is the marine transport sector needs? We will need in our creation of scenario to consider these things as we do our planning. So things like developing dedicated shipping lanes, anchorage area, and also some other consideration that might come up when these projects are done, like dredging materials that will be coming up from the port activity, the possibility of pollution that will be coming up from the expansion of the port activity. How are we considering this? How is this going to impact our marine areas? How is the expansion of the Mombasa port, for example, going to impact the close by Mombasa marine protected area? We have other projects as well as the underwater cables that are happening in our marine space. The difficulty of some of these projects is that they are ongoing, but we really don't have plan. We don't really have plan or something that can show where this project exists. I was trying, for example, to see if we can have any map that shows where all the underwater cable are passing by in our ocean. I know they are there, but there is no anything to show where these things are located. And these things need to be protected because you are creating these underwater cables now, but tomorrow other projects might be coming up. For example, if you want to do exploration for oil and other activities, these two activities are generally they can't happen in the same place. You can't have oil drilling in a place where underwater cables are. So this needs to be defined. Other projects that have been planned for, we have seen that there are active oil exploration licenses that have been issued. And I was looking at the map that was presented yesterday by Azali, and you see all these the oil exploration blocks have been issued along the whole of the Kenyan coastline. So we need to have this in mind when we are doing our planning. When are we expecting this activity to be done? or because the license have been issued already, can we plan on how well these activities can be done? Because we need the potential impacts of this activity of oil exploration to other marine activities such as fisheries. We have a strong fisheries component. Hi, can you hear me?
Hello. Sorry, Pascal. I had an issue, so I don't know. My internet just got lost. So you can continue. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. So I said we have a strong component of fisheries as well in our country, where we have different fishing activities such as artisanal trolling as well, and also commercial fishing of passen and longliners in our deeper waters. And this sector also has its need. For example, protection of landing area. We have seen scenario where fishermen are not able to access landing area because of other development. And also to support fisheries, we need to do other things such as protection of breeding areas and nursery areas for the fish. Another consideration is also the fact that we also need to protect other activities such as tourism, which may have a conflict with the fishing activities as well. Yesterday, we saw a strong component of mariculture that is coming up in the Kenya marine space, and we need from Miriam's presentation, we need to secure existing mariculture location, and also there is to identify potential area for mariculture, because this is one of the areas that, as Miriam mentioned yesterday, that can help us improve on the production of fish and also reduce pressure in our marine space by reducing the fishing pressure. Next slide, please. Abby, next slide. Oh, thanks. So apart from the fisheries, we also have marine protected areas that are found almost along the Kenyan coasts, and this marine protected area also have the need. We need to protect the marine protected area from anthropogenic impacts, so as to protect the biodiversity that exists in this area. So this is one need that we need to consider for our marine protected area when we are establishing other activities. There's also a strong component of marine and coastal tourism in terms of areas for snorkeling and also diving. There is also a strong component of communities who are already establishing community ventures in conservation that are also used for tourism and also as an income for these communities. For example, in Mida and Wasini, where we have community establishing boardwalks and tengefus. So we need to first protect these areas for the sake of the community, and also for protecting the income of this community, and also the biodiversity of this area, because most communities identify areas that are of importance, not just for their income, but also for the conservation of biodiversity. We have also challenge of sea level rise, and we have seen areas like Shimoni, Ngomeni, in Lamu, where people are building defense walls on the coast, on the shore, so as to protect property from damage that is occurring due to sea level rise. We also have some allocation for the military. These military activities are already happening in our marine space. I'm not sure if they are already planned for but this is a consideration that needs to be done so that this military activity cannot interfere with other um, with other activity. I also forgot to add in this table cultural sites. We have, as from our presentation yesterday, we heard that there are a lot of underwater cultural sites that are distributed almost along the whole of Kenyan coast. And this needs also to be given a consideration in terms of protecting them from other users, protecting them from pollution, and so that the activity in the cultural sites can happen with little interference. So for me to define the spatial scenario, I have decided to focus on the Shimoni Vanga area because our coast is so vast. So I'm going to try to discuss this based on Shimoni Vanga area for the creation of the scenario. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So I'm going to give an example of, sorry, the previous one, Abby, with the map. Yeah, so this is the Shimoni Vanga area, and just putting up on activities that are going on along this place and creation of scenario. So we see that the Shimoni Vanga area is firstly has a lot of activities that are ongoing. We have fishing, we have tourism activities, we have mariculture, and we have marine transportation as well. And these activities pose, some of these activities pose some threats to the biodiversity in this area. We see we have corals, mangroves, seagrass, and also occurrence of endangered species such as whale in this area. So what we need to, another scenario is that also the government is planning to expand the port of, to expand the Shimoni port so that it can cater for expanded fisheries and also cargo. So this is going to see an increase in um, shipping activities in the Shimoni areas in the coming days. So we need, in creating a spatial scenario for the Shimoni Vanga area. Next slide, please. In creating a spatial scenario, first we need to identify the conflicts between the different users and also between the users and the ecosystem that are in this place. So for example, in this table, I've tried to mark the activities that are compatible with each other and those that are not compatible with each other or compatible with an ecosystem. For example, we see that the coral, the mangrove, the seagrass are good for tourism activities, but when the port is expanded, then the coral, the mangrove, and the seagrass may not be compatible with this because we expect an increase in pollution, especially around port area, and this may have may affect this ecosystem. Another point of consideration for this area is when we are creating a future spatial scenario for the Shimoni Vanga area, we need to make sure that these activities are allocated in a way that we avoid possible impacts of the incompatible activity, and also try as much as possible to do multiple allocation of users. Giving an example of the question that was raised yesterday by Mr. Hasi, where you see that he was saying that tourists there is tourists are no longer able to see um, the ornamental fish in the snorkeling and diving areas in Shimoni because there is a lot of aquarium fishing activity that are going on there. So it's clearly a conflict. The aquarium fishery versus tourism. This is a conflict that needed to be sorted out, and probably it can be done within the MSP process. So we need probably to say these areas are important for tourism, for snorkeling, for diving. So no aquarium fishing should be done in these zones, and probably allocate other zones that could be good for the aquarium fishery. So these are the type of scenario that we should be creating when we are creating our developing our marine spatial plan. And they're emphasizing also the allocation of multiple uses, and a lot of emphasis has always been given to allocating activities in a 3D and 3 dimension. So in one area, if you are able to have activities at different layers, for example, if cables can go below and on top you can have a shipping lane, and if the two don't interfere with each other, why not? In this way, you are able to efficiently use marine spaces. There are areas that have been identified as areas that are important uh, for endangered species. For the case of Simone, this happen probably not throughout the year, but there are seasons where we have dugongs, whales, dolphin that are seen in this area. So probably we could allocate areas that are for the purposes of the conservation of these endangered species, which could be also be used as tourism areas as well, because it's already happening that we have tourists that frequent Shimoni for the whale watching activities and also dolphin watching. Next slide, please. So just to sum up, and this is purely based on my expert opinion on how the creation of scenarios within the MSP process. First of all, is I would say a collaborative approach from the beginning. When if we want to create scenarios, then this need to be a collaborative process, and all the stakeholders need to be brought in. The areas that you may seem to be not important for one industry may really be of significant use to other stakeholders. So a collaborative approach in the creation of the scenario, so that we each sector can say we are fine with creating this space for activity, or we can move our activity to other areas so that you are able to use this space for your use with consensus. And also institutionalization of the MSP within the responsible ministry and the county government. So we have plans that the activities that are already happening within these regions. For example, in Shimoni, you have uh, seaweed farming that is already ongoing there. It will be important that the involvement of all the government agency and also the county government in this planning process and the creation of the scenario, probably because this county government already have planned for their people. Remember, probably Governor Mvurya for the Kwale County has a plan maybe in the next year or two to have processing plants for seaweed within the Shimoni area. And we are creating a plan where that is going to impact uh, a lot on the seaweed farms that are already existing in the Shimoni area. So this should be done within the county government as well. And another thing about that is also the ease of implementation. When everything is done within the policies of the relevant ministry, then we have an ease of implementation and enforcement of the plan. Another important thing to end on this is that, as you can see, when I was trying to define this scenario, our cost is really vast, and with different futures that are different. For example, on the northern side to the southern side. So, in order for us to have a good plan and creation of this scenario, probably the planning we could divide the cost into subnational units that reflect the ecosystem types and the biodiversity of the area. For example, I mean, this is just my suggestion. We could have the south coast and probably central and the northern coast. Why? Because probably in the northern coast is where we have the fishing activities in the Malindi Ungwana Bay and the northern banks, which are some of the areas that are more productive and have a lot of impact. Have a lot of fisheries production. So in this area, probably we could focus on having, we could give priority to fishing activities. Then in the central area where you have Mombasa, we expect from what we saw yesterday an increase in shipping activities after all these Dongo Kundu and the Belt and Road Initiative projects are implemented. So we could have this area have more focus on shipping activity, and the southern area where we have the Shimoni Vanga areas and with Kisit and Punguti area coming in, we could have this place probably focus on tourism and conservation activities. So my last slide. Next slide, please. To end my presentation, I will say that in terms of implementation and enforcement, it's a good time to introduce MSP in our Kenyan waters. First, because our ocean currently are not so busy, but we know what is coming up. Our ocean are going to be busy in the coming days with the implementation of the Belt and Road Initiative, the Dongokundu Special Economic Zone, and other activities that are coming up. We need to include this in our plan so that we can avoid situation of like what is happening on land, where we are torn between choosing conservation over more economical feasible project like the SGR. So we need to avoid such situation. We have an opportunity to do all the right things. Thank you very much for listening.